Iron ore has been the iron throne of China since the past few years. The economic dominance of China has been the iron throne of China that they have to protect with dragon. And the dragon in our Game of Thrones is a nation from Africa. Beijing wants to take over literally everything in the world. If we become more specific here, Beijing wants to take over the natural resources of the planet. As it has been called the Planet Factory, it needs control over natural resources to maintain the supreme position as the lone manufacturer of 28.7% goods in the world. Also, the less talked Belt and Road Initiative require a huge level of natural resources. According to a survey, the raw material sector is the main source of income for the Chinese government currently that supports its competitive advantage in making cheap products. And the main problem here is, the country is highly dependent on other regions for the raw materials that require this mass production. Prime example of this is iron ore. Iron is the key element for making warships, missiles, large buildings, and railroads. And all these are significant for China in the coming years to become the supreme leader of the Asian region. And currently, using the iron ore it brings, China is the producer of around 50% of the steel in the world. However, only 20% of the iron ore for steel production is extracted from China. The other 80% is imported from different countries. And the major problem here is 60% of the iron ore used by China comes from a single country, that is Australia. And after the COVID-19 started, Australia was one of the first countries that raised strong voice against China and started investigation on the matters. Things got so heated that China sanctioned most of Australian trade. But iron ore was the exception. China knows the importance of Australia for their survival. However, the capitalist government of Australia understands the threat posed by the Communist Party, and it has moved forward to strengthen its ties with the old friends USA and the UK. The formation of AUKUS with those two countries is a significant joint security partnership that has clarified the intentions of the country from the Pacific. If China moves forward towards Taiwan, a stoppage of iron ore imports will drastically affect its productions and manufacturing, ultimately the economy. If Australia stops exporting iron ore, China will see the biggest drawback in its production in the last 40 years. So China wants to take over the control over iron ore production globally. And a state-owned company named China Mineral Resource Group is working relentlessly to achieve this global supremacy. CMR is continuously involved in the purchases of iron ore from different countries to making direct investments in extraction of iron ore. For the past few decades, China has been constantly complaining about the high pricing practices of big mining giants like BHP or Rio Tinto. While everyone's questioning the integrity of the Chinese government, Beijing trying to spread honesty and fairness within the iron ore industry seems a little unfair. For the past few decades, China has been the country making good deals around the world. Good deal here means deals that are good for Beijing. And a good deal within the iron ore industry means the betterment of Beijing. China is trying their best to decide on the future of the iron ore industry, and things are getting harder than ever. In 2023, the price of iron ore went up to $230 a ton, which is a record in history. And for the Chinese steel manufacturers and their cheap pricing policy, this was a nightmare. China is also investing in domestic extraction projects like investing in the regions like Tibet and others. Also, the country is constantly looking for iron ore mines for extraction in their favorite foreign destination, Africa. History only taunts the British for exploiting the resources of other countries. But not only the British were the colonizers from Europe. And what current powerful are doing is not less than a modern-day colonization. Africa has been the favorite place of modern-day powerful as a favorite place for extraction even in the 21st century. While everyone only remembers about Isle, South Sudan, or Niger Delta when it comes to African conflicts, iron ore extraction is another rising issue within the continent. With around 25 economic zones in 16 African countries, 27 planned lithium mines, China has invested an uncountable number of iron ore projects in Africa. The state-owned companies are continuously making these deals for gaining edge over the companies like BHP or Rio Tinto. When an iron extraction deal of $680 million between China and Cameroon took place in 2022, locals were not much happy about it. This deal was directly against the environmental laws regarding the safeguarding of riverbeds, waterfalls, and wet areas. While Cameroonians accused China of violating their laws, not much government officials were concerned about this extreme appropriation of its natural resources. This backlash was the result of multiple decade-long gold extraction, which was of almost no help to the Cameroonian economy. Workers in the gold projects of Cameroon were paid less than $3 for half-day work. Half-day here means legitimate 12 hours every day. This goes nowhere near the labor wage standards made by UN organizations. The gold extraction projects in Cameroon are literally proof of exploiting the PUA, destruction of the atmosphere, and also breach of international laws. Not only Cameroon, China has also made deals with Algeria and Congo for iron ore extraction. While China continues to grow their portfolio in the iron ore extraction industry, they mainly target the country of Guinea. The purest available and also the largest iron ore reserve is in this West African country. In the mountainous region of Simandu, there is an estimated 2 to 8.6 billion metric tons of iron ore that is still untapped. China is trying to pursue this big fish with a surface area of 100 kilometers for a long time now. And you could make more than 100,000 Empire State Building with this immense reserve of iron ore. With the reserve available only in the Simandu Mountains, China can continue its full-pace production for 7 years. Currently, this is the best alternative to Australia. If you own any business related to iron ore in China, you will get rich sooner or later. This is the level of backing the Chinese Communist Party is providing to the iron ore companies. China is currently building a mine road and building tunnels only to carry iron ore from one city to another. Within this process, they are no way near to following environmental guidelines. China is also running mass extraction projects in Tibet to get iron ore and other minerals as fast as possible. And the most concerning part is, we live in a singular planet. Environment is that interconnected system which absorbs the impact of any action as a single unit. So beware. While the local communities in the areas of extraction are not quite happy about this. Dust is everywhere, water is getting polluted, and the community aren't getting enough jobs that they were promised to. The situations are so worse in some regions that the locals aren't even getting compensations for the damage they are absorbing from the process. In the case of Africa, China is not only investing in the iron ore of Africa, rather it is going after lithium and other resources too. China is not actually preparing for an invasion, rather it is squeezing out what left to its long-run economic dominance over the planet, and Beijing would do anything to achieve it.